Hello everyone. This video is intended to be a brief how-to demonstration of specifically how to clean this section of a Pelikan demonstrator. Here I have for you a classic M200 clear demonstrator released in 2012. This was a reissue of sorts, and not too dissimilar from the M205 clear demonstrator coming out next month. With the addition of that, we'll have chromium plated trim, whereas this has gold plated trim. So if we take the cap off, we can see the pen right now is currently filled with Edelstein Topaz, and you can see a lot of that ink is in this section as well. So I'm going to clear the pen of ink. I'm going to actually return it to the bottle since I just filled it and don't want to lose my topaz. Alright. Cap that so we don't have any spills. Alright, so with the piston now retracted, you can see the standard, residual ink in the barrel, and then we have the ink in the section. So conventional wisdom says, well, let's just flush the pen like we normally would. So here I have a cup of distilled water, and I'll put the pen and run a couple cycles through it. And you can see our nice clean distilled water is becoming progressively cloudier with that wonderful blue hue from the Topaz ink. One of my favorites from the Edelstein line. Alright, and as we successively flush the pen, we can see that the ink in the barrel is getting clearer and clearer. Alright, that should be good enough there. So, if you take a look here, and I'll retract the piston again, now we have the barrel is fairly clean. However, look at that section. Oh, just take the nib out, you say. Okay, let's do that. I'll take a towel here. I'll just unscrew the nib. Kind of drop that into my bucket of water. Alright, so let's see if we can just kind of cycle through again. You can see it still draws some water without the nib in there. So I'm just going to run a couple more cycles through it. Alright, here we go. You see the barrels there is pretty clean. Oh, look at that section. That section's still as blue as anything. Just a swab. Good idea. Let's run a swab through it. Here's a regular cotton swab. Let's see if we can get some of that ink out of there. Alright, you can definitely see we're getting some ink there. Let's see what else we can do here. Alright, we got some of that ink out, and here we go. We're left with ink in that section. So this becomes the problem that I want to address here. How do we get that ink out of that section? So the answer is actually deceptively simple. I'm going to create a new cup of clean distilled water. I use distilled water because if you use tap water that has a lot of minerals in it, if it's particularly hard water, it can be challenging to clean. I take a 5cc syringe with a blunt tip needle. These can be obtained from just about anywhere. I get mine from the Goulets. So I'm going to fill that syringe. Now what you see here on the Pelikans is, here you have the threads on the inside of the section, which is where the nib screws into. What you want to do is take your blunt needle, and if you trace it down the side of the barrel, you'll feel where those threads start. So you want to get your syringe just where those threads start and give it a little flush, kind of all the way around. You see that blue ink coming out of there. Keep flushing around. So this insert is designed to hold the nib, but can also hold ink behind it. It can trap ink behind it. So let me get another flush here from relatively clean water. Just flush out the whole pen. Now I'll need to do a little bit more cleanup work here, but as you can see now, all of that blue ink that was stuck in the section that no amount of flushing would get rid of has been nicely cleaned out with the flushing of clean water. And you can do that repeatedly. Usually it takes about 1 or 2 syringes to get all that ink out of there. So that is how specifically to clean the section of a Pelikan demonstrator, and this holds true for whether it's an M200 or an M800 or even an M1000. So this is kind of one of those pearls you want to keep in the back of your mind in case you ever run into this situation. Alright, thank you for watching.